have different relationships that I had to highlight. My mom and I have a kind of a tense relationship, but we worked through it.
The end of my relationship is hot and cold. One day, I'm her best friend. The next day, she can't stand me.
You starred on the Real Housewives of Dallas.
Yeah.
Were there some challenges with some of your
Every
coworkers?
day.
Yeah.
That's
Do you want?
the genesis of the show is
Yeah.
to be in conflict.
I think bullying is a really strong word.
When I said you were a bully, I felt like you were bullying me. All season long, I felt like I was being bullied for no reason.
She never once had my back. She's a bully, she's this, she's that. I'm like, what?
So instead of looking at it as, well, you know, this relationship's not working out, or poor me, or why do I have to be in this situation? What am I learning from this, and how am I becoming a better person and able to navigate conflict? Especially too, I always hear a lot of housewives saying, oh, well, they did this to me, oh, this is horrible, I wish I didn't do this, I didn't have a good time. And I think, oh, what a blessing, I got to do this for 4 years and I learned something and it opened up all these doors. Instead of thinking about all the negative and all the Twitter, you know, trolls and all that, think about what is the upside of actually having that job for 4 years. Yes, it was the hardest thing I ever did, but it has been a blessing. I mean, I wouldn't be here if I didn't have the Real Housewives job for the 4 years I did, and I wouldn't be doing the other acting roles. I wouldn't be asked as a guest on different things, podcasts.
Yes.
That opened those doors. So however hard it was, it's okay.
Our initial reactions to events and like issues, crisis, it's powerful because it involves deciding what we think of ourselves. And Deandra, will you come to my party Friday night?
I'm sorry, Dora. I'm busy. I can't be there.
Oh no, I'm not a fun person.
Dora, do you think that means you're not a fun person?
Okay, well let me try to upshift here.
That oftentimes when we think negative things about ourselves, it's not the truth. And so upshifting can be, I must really understand who I am. I must have a clear definition of who am I.
Oh, okay, well guess what? When I do go to parties, I am the life of the party. so guess what? I feel good. You don't have to come, it's all right. And it becomes a part of our self-image. And I love the upshifting that Mary Ann Thompson introduced me to. Thank you so much. Tell me how you were inspired.
Well, thank you so much for all that. I've been inspired because of the work of Dr. LASZLO, and he was just a remarkable man who started as a music prodigy, playing in some of the most world famous places, on the piano when he was 4 and 5 years old. And that actually saved his life, because when World War II happened, the Spanish consulate was able to come in and say he is a cultural treasure. And that status enabled them to come in and take him as if he were an object and his family and save him in the Spanish consulate. And he called me up and he said, Mary Ann, we've been doing work kind of in tangent with each other, either parallel or sometimes barely crossing. He said, but I don't know if I have another 10 years. But I want to make every time I have count. I need you to come here. So now he and I are working on a book together called Upshifting Humanity's Crisis of Consciousness. And the whole point is that we can all have so many struggles, but we have to, as modern human beings, take personal responsibility for what mimetics do we want in our minds, what mimetics do we want to allow to seep in and define ourselves, and also create our own, in a sense, and say, this is who I choose to be in this world. I'm choosing my perception of it, and here's the powerful thing. When you take responsibility for choosing your perception, you shape your world into what you want it to be.
And we have the ability to do that. And people don't know that.
Exactly. So that, to me, upshifting is helping yourself to raise your vision up and say, I'm not going to be confined by all these other things that are telling me what I am. So I'm choosing to be this.
Yes.
And that's upshifting.
And that applies to what we are talking about today. We are talking about issues with coworkers. Like, Colton keeps eating my yogurt. Anyway, besides from that.
And I told him the last time
I
to stop
know, I know.
Why isn't he listening to me? There's a reason why I'm called the expert.
What we are doing is we are upshifting our reactions. How did you respond when?
It took me a while. It didn't happen. I mean,
Overnight.
Dr. Cynthia, of course, I was angry. after the
Okay.
second season of things that were, being said about me and the way I was being portrayed. But I had to just, step back, and I did a lot of praying. I did a lot of Psalms 118, and I had to just pray for those people and also just kind of release it a little bit. I don't know how to explain it. And then think about, okay, how can I turn this around? Just like what you're saying.
Your initial feelings, oftentimes when it's negativity, it breeds negativity.
Right.
And sometimes it takes us a moment to just exhale and say, hey, I might not have responded the way that I wanted to in that situation, but I have a moment right now that I can reframe that, I can upshift.
What other people think of you is none of your business.
Right.
And that is such a hard thing, because you become a tool for their personal growth and journey. And if you've chosen to put yourself out there, guess what? That's what you are.
Everybody gets it no matter what.
So we have to kind of, when we navigate that, there's a lot of power that comes from having a presence and a voice and a spotlight. So you have to take personal responsibility for what you do with it. On the other hand, you have to kind of go, the praise and the insults, that's their thing.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. Of course it hurts.
Right.
I've been attacked for all sorts of weird things. But but at the end of the day, you go, am I good with who I see in the mirror? If I am, then it's between me and God, and the rest is
And
not my
the
problem.
other thing is the power that you give to people to praise you and build you up. You also give them the power to tear you down. Oftentimes when we think negative things about ourselves, it's not the truth, right? And what we have to be very careful about is the fact that we give other people's opinions of us more power in our lives than we give the opinions that we have about ourselves.
That's true.
And so upshifting can be, I must really understand who I am. I must have a clear definition of who am I, so that when I show up, no matter what happens around me, I'm clear about who I am, right? Because you don't want to give other people the power to define you.
That's great.
What I see Upshifting doing is helping us with those reactions. Even if we know who we are human, we tend to react. And so we need to be aware that we do need to upshift. And we may be really strong in our identities, but things still hit us. Having girlfriends like you guys is amazing, especially when we have vegan ranch and lime osbox pie.
We'll keep you fed since you don't cook.
Okay, all right. And Beckley 1115 made the salad.
Delicious.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
And I love this dressing. I really do
thank
love
you.
this dressing.
You need to
Before the
make it.
show, like when the camera stops rolling, I will be eating.
I know. We'll be fighting over this. No.
I'll give you the recipe.